Now, Arkansas Senator Tom Cotton. Senator, thank you for joining us. You know, a month ago, you looked at 15,000 Haitians under a bridge, and everybody was screaming, "Where's Kamala Harris?" Now you got 100 container ships off the coast of Southern California, and people are screaming, "Where in the world is the Transportation Secretary, Pete Buttigieg?"
Well, Trace, apparently he's been on paternity leave for the last 2 months.
Right.
I don't think anyone knew that until this week. They didn't even realize he was missing because he's had such poor performance on his job thus far. He was absent from infrastructure legislation negotiations a couple months ago. And I got to say, he's still absent, even though he's back at work, apparently, because the solutions that the administration are proposing here are just woefully inadequate. I mean, this all gets back fundamentally to the fact that we import so much stuff from China. And Joe Biden's been advocating for that for 30 or 40 years in Washington, promoting more and more exporting of our jobs and our factories to China. Then we just have to bring it back in through these ports in California. But obviously, they could have foreseen these bottlenecks months ago, and they could have addressed them then, not least of which by not paying people to stay home from work, and now imposing mandates that are going to cause people to leave their jobs as well.
You talk about the president talking about solutions. I want to play this soundbite from Wednesday and get your reaction on the other side. Here's the president.
We need to invest in making more of our products right here in the United States. Never again should our country and our economy be unable to make critical products we need because we don't have access to materials to make that product.
I mean, you talked about China, but let's not forget, this is the same president, fighting to make sure that America doesn't produce more oil and yet asking OPEC to churn out more oil.
Yeah, Trace, that's exactly right. We're shutting down oil and gas production in North America, and then we're going hat in hand begging OPEC to send more oil here. I'd also say, though, for Joe Biden, talk is cheap. Joe Biden has been responsible for 50 years in Washington and sending our jobs and factories to China. He was a champion in the 1990s of giving the Chinese communists permanent most favored nation status and then welcoming them into the World Trade Organization, which they have gamed for decades to take more and more of our jobs, which then requires us to send our money there to import these goods back. And now Joe Biden wants to blame just transient or transitory shipping conditions. This is much deeper than that, and Joe Biden's been at the root of it from the very beginning.
A couple of questions in one. You talked about, blame here, and he came out and he said that the private sector really needs to step up to kind of help this supply chain crisis. And then on the flip side, you had, the White House Chief of Staff, Ron Klain, saying this is a high class problem, retweeting that. What are your final thoughts on that?
Well, Ron Klain noting that it's high-class problems to have a supply chain issue, so you can't get costumes for Thanksgiving or Christmas presents for Christmas reminds me of the old saying that it's better to keep your mouth shut and be thoughtful than to open it and remove all doubt whatsoever.
Yeah. Senator Tom Cotton, great of you to come on, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, Trace.
Well, we